And the lecturer was explaining to us how we need to answer questions using IRAC. To be very honest, I was confused. I was like, IRAC? Like, did she mispronounce Iraq? What is going on? Like, I was really confused, right? Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Winnie Williams and welcome to a series called Light in Law, which is essentially a series where we bring light to every area and aspect of law. Let's get right into it. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about how to answer law questions using IRAC. Now you guys, the first time I heard IRAC, I think that was like 100 level, maybe my second or third class, thereabouts. And the lecturer was explaining to us how we need to answer questions using IRAC. To be very honest, I was confused. I was like,
Ghana. Doesn't ring a bell.
IRAC, like, did she mispronounce Iraq? What is going on? Like, I was really confused, right? So that is why I'm doing this video, to basically help new law students. Even if you're 200 level and you don't know how to use IRAC, this video is for you. So how to answer law questions using IRAC. Okay, so law questions typically are in two forms. So you can actually have problem questions, or you can have essay questions, right? IRAC is used mostly to answer problem questions. Now, what is a typical problem question? So when you see a problem question, it has names. So situations like, oh, Rose slapped Zinelli in the face and Zinelli is trying to sue for remedies. What can she do? So when you see questions like that, it's really pointing you to the fact that, oh, okay, this is a problem question. Most problem questions have like case studies. They are trying to tell a story. At the end of the day, they can say advise the parties, right? So that's essentially what problem questions look like. You see a long narration, you see a long description. There's one story from another story from another study, especially criminal law. You would see a lot of things going on, and they can ask you to analyze the legal problems or legal issues in the case and provide maybe advise a party, tell them what they should do, tell them their legal rights and their remedies, right? That's generally how problem questions are posed or framed. Now, another set of questions are essay questions. Essay questions are, as the name implies, it is asking you more to explain, give step-by-step process to answer the question. The questions are mostly short, but not all the time. They are very cryptic. So you can have something like, okay, the rule of law does more wrong than good. Explain. Or they can say discuss, right? Maybe 2 or 3 lines and they say discuss there. There's not necessarily the mention of like people's names. There's not necessarily the mentions of like places. Not too much information, just a very short, and then at the end of the day you see discuss. You know, they can say maybe the 99 constitution is a guardian not discuss, something like that. The amendment of the Nigerian constitution is a guardian not explain or discuss. So that's an essay question. Now for IRAC, we're going to use IRAC mostly to answer problem questions, and I've already told you how problem questions, can come. Now generally, when you're answering law questions, before we even go into IRAC, it's advisable that you read the question once, read the question twice, read the question thrice, because you have to be very, very careful to know exactly what they are asking you, especially for problem questions. Don't rush into it. I remember I had studied one particular exam, I had studied a lot of past questions and all of that stuff. So the names that the lecturer had used, for that past question, I saw it again in exam. I was like, I know this past question, I know the question, I don't even need to read it. And turns out that they used the same names, but it was a different scenario. So don't allow overconfidence to get the best of you. Make sure you read the question over and over and over again. Reading the question, understanding the question is the first step to getting the answer to the question. Because if you don't understand the question you're answering, the answer, okay. Yeah, so that's basically it. Read your question over and over and over and over again. Another thing that is so important before we go into IRAC is make sure you understand the meaning of the words that they are using. Please, I have failed 2 good tests because I did not know the meaning of a particular word. That's why you should read past questions. As a law student, you need to hold the dictionary close to yourself, see the kind of questions that the lecturers use, and then strive to actually understand, okay, what's the meaning of this word? I think the two words I can't forget is renaissance and misnomer. I don't know why I thought these words meant totally different things, and I ended up explaining totally different things. I failed the test. Make sure you know the meaning of the words basically before you answer the question. Alright, so let's go right into IRAC. What is IRAC? IRAC. So I is basically issue. Okay, before we even go into what IRAC means, what is IRAC, right? What is it? So IRAC is a abbreviation, issue, rule, application or analysis, and then conclusion. And it's supposed to give you a wholesome answer to a problem question. So it's basically a pattern, almost like a format, almost like a template, almost like, a guide for you to be able to answer problem questions. Something about problem questions, they are problematic, and you need a step-by-step guide to be able to make sure that all your answers are intact. Some lecturers actually mark according to how you present your answers, so you should not leave out anything, right? If you just answer without IRAC, you may leave out the analysis, you may leave out conclusion, you may leave out the issue, you may leave out the rule. But when you have IRAC in your mind, it actually just helps you to answer the question without problems. So yes, going to IRAC, I'm going to take my time to explain issue, rule, analysis or application, and conclusion, and what you should do in the various categories. Now we'll start with I, which is issue, right? So now in the issue, as the name implies, what is the legal problem in that question? So you can have a long narrative, right? Let's say, for example, I'll use criminal law again. This Mr. A punched Mr. B. After that, they went to the hospital. After the hospital, Mr. B died. They want to charge Mr. A for homicide, manslaughter, advise the parties. Now, your issue is basically what is the legal problem. And most people, the issue is framed in question form. So whether Mr. A is liable, whether Mr. A is culpable for the offense of assault under so of the criminal code. So now when you're framing your issue, the facts of the case and the law of the case should be embedded in it. So let your issue not be vague. Let it not just be whether Mr. A is culpable. No, let it be systematic, so that as soon as your lecturer sees the issue, they know that, okay, this person knows what they are looking for, right? So you can use whether, you can also use if Mr. A will be culpable for this, and then there's a question mark. So that's your issue. It is basically what is the legal problem in this question. Capish? So that's your issue. Now you move on to rule. Now the rule is basically a collection of all the applicable laws, right? In your rule, you speak extensively about the laws. So the laws that have to do with legal problems. So for example, here that definitions, sections, this is where you put all of those things in your rule. So you can say, according to Black Laws Dictionary, assault means this, or according to Black Law Dictionary, homicide is this. You say, according to section this, or the criminal code, according to section this. So this is where you actually take out your time to list out the laws one after the other. Also, case law. In the case of this versus this, the court held that. In the case of this versus this, you can briefly state the facts of the case, and then you go on to state what the court held in the case, right? To see that, and it must be similar. Remember, you don't just quote cases from anywhere. It has to be similar, so that your lecturer can know that, okay, this person knows what they are talking about, right? So when you finish your rule, basically all you have to do is all the laws. You don't really explain, you don't talk about the fact of the case in your rule. What you do is just distill all your rules, distill all the legal laws and principles that apply, Latin maxims, all of those things. They will be all embedded in your rule. Also very important, your elements. So elements of that particular offense, you can list them out, give cases and explanation in your rule. Please don't make your rule shabby. Don't make it 2-3 lines. Just say, see. Don't do it. Don't ask your lecturer to go and see any case. Cite the case. In the case of this is the fact of the case. The court held. Please, Ejo, don't write see. Please put the facts of the case and what the court held. Ejo. So that's what you do in your role. Then you move to analysis. Analysis is the gist. This is where you talk. This is where you pour out your heart. This is where you tell your lecturer this. But please, it's not aimless gist. It is purposeful analysis. So what you do here in analysis is that you marry the facts of the case with the legal principles. So you're talking about, okay, Mr. A did this in the case of this, it was done that this according to section this. So in your analysis, don't be tempted to write one page. You need to express yourself. You need to show them that you are the legal juggernaut. You need to show them that you are Professor Emeritus.
Now let's see the names of this prosecution counsel. By assuming that this man is standing before you.
And make sure you are writing the correct thing, please. Two lines of correct answer is better than 5 pages of wrong answer. So make sure that you're writing the correct thing. Analysis, your analysis should be rich. There are particular phrases that spice up your analysis. When you say in a plethora of cases, it has been held. When you say this has judicial blessing, your lecturer will say, okay, I see you. So make sure you go all out on your analysis. And I'll say one thing that really helps me with analysis is reading past questions. So don't just read past questions, read answers. If you can get answers, there are some books that are like question and answers books. Don't just take out the questions, read the answers, read the flow. Some of you, your problem is not that you don't know how to answer the question, but there's no flow. Like you keep jumping up and down. And this is what IRAC helps you to do. So that you don't jump up and down, it gives you category for you to systematically follow them and ensure that you get to, where you're going. So in your analysis, you take out time to actually go into the intricacies of the case. This is what happened. Make sure you analyze every simple thing. And please, your handwriting.
God have mercy upon us.
Look, don't make your lecturers go and get glasses. If your handwriting is not clear, it can cause, you can be writing the correct thing, but it's stressful to read. I don't know if you've seen somebody's book and you see their handwriting and you just get frustrated. Let that not be you. So if you want to go and buy handwriting book, no shame. Buy handwriting book, learn cursive. Make sure your handwriting is on point so that as soon as your lecturers see your paper, everything is legible, right? So yes, in your analysis, go all out. Cases, some lecturers accept scenarios, some other lecturers do not accept scenarios. So please know what your lecturer likes. If your lecturer is somebody that will say, okay, you can say Mr. A, Mr. B to explain further, you can do that. But please make sure you know judicial cases, judicial precedents. Give them cases one after the other. Look for the locus classicus case. Right, so if you're talking about a situation of tort, maybe negligence, you know that Donegry and Stevenson has to be there. Like use the locus classicus case before you now start calling other cases, right? So let your analysis be rich. This is not the time to save your ink. This is not the time to save your paper. This is the time to write. If your lecturer says in 2 or 3 sentences, still use IRAC. Still use IRAC and write, because people that will use IRAC and you don't use IRAC, they will get more scores than you that do not use IRAC. So yeah, in your analysis, you break down everything, explain every single thing to them, give it to them one after the other, right? That's analysis. Finally, in your conclusion, it's not supposed to be too long. You tie up everything and come to a conclusion, reach a conclusion. If they ask you to advise the parties, advise the parties. So you say, my advice to the parties would be, Mr. A can pursue legal actions against Mr. This for the offense of this. Go ahead and even mention remedies, even if you were not asked, because it's a full-on question, right? You can still go ahead and mention some of the remedies. Please, your conclusion is not the time to start explaining a lot of things. Remember that that's what your analysis is for. So yeah, in a nutshell, that's what IRAC is. It just helps you to explain your problem questions to the T, to ensure that you do not miss out on anything and you follow it through, right? That's basically what IRAC is. Now, most lecturers would say, when you're answering the question, write out, like, so for example, there's a question in front of me. Some lecturers will tell you, write issue in capital letters, underline it, then write your issue. Write your rule in capital letter, underline it, then start. Write your analysis in capital letters, underline it, then start. Write your conclusion, like that. What most lecturers will say is just a guide. You don't need to write it in caps lock and underline it. Just, maybe in a new paragraph, you can, change from issue to rule to analysis to conclusion. Now, please don't be tempted to say in a decided case. Use in a decided case when worse comes to worse. You know how it's like, who wants to be a billionaire, and it's like, okay, call a friend. You don't know the answer of this thing, right? That's the only time that you should use in a decided case. Strive to ensure that you remember all your cases, please, because using in a decided case a lot, your lecturer will just feel like this person is not serious. Why do you not remember even one case? So don't feel like you will be that kind of person that will just fall back on in a decided case. Ensure that you know the name of your cases and cite them properly. Most schools would require you to use red pen to write your cases so that they are bold enough, or other schools will say, okay, underline. Make sure you know what your school requires and what your lecturer requires. Very, very, very important. When you're answering a question, remember that in sort of the goal is to show your lecturer that you've understood what they taught you and to also please your lecturer. So anything they tell you to do, go ahead and do that. So if they tweak some certain things in the IRAC method, instead of fighting with them, please go ahead and follow what they've told you to do. There are some lecturers that will say, what I've given you, give me. Garbage in, garbage out. Don't be creative about anything. Please respect what they have asked you to do and do that. Now, so if you want to analyze a case, let's say a case, now you're not answering a problem question, they ask you to analyze a case, right? So what you can use to analyze that case is FIRAC, FIRAC. So the facts of the case, issue of the case, rules, analysis, and conclusion. So that's just like a bonus, right? If you are to analyze a case. Now, let's go to answering essay questions, even if this video is primarily for IRAC, right? But answering essay questions is basically grade 2 English language. You know how they tell us to write an essay, and we all know that essay is what? Introduction, body, conclusion. So when you're writing an essay, when you see an essay question, it's the same format, but of course, legal precedent will be there. So your introduction, you go ahead and explain the terms of maybe if they say 1999 constitution is a guardian knot, explain. You can talk about, okay, the 1999 constitution, what exactly it entails, how it's constitution of Nigeria. You can go ahead to say the amendment process. So guardian knot basically means something that's difficult to untie, right? Let's say they say that the amendment process is difficult to untie. So in the introduction, you can give a brief history of the 1999 constitution, right? Some of the improvements of the constitution. Then when you go to the body, you can now start to examine how the amendment process is difficult, call out the sections, and then your cases as well. So in the case of this versus this, the court held that this, you take out your body. Your body is going to be, robust. You're going to take out time to actually explain intricately the question in your body. And then conclusion, as the name implies, you conclude and tie everything up nicely. Please ensure that your work is neat. Don't cancel too much. Don't overpaint your words. Make sure everything is clear, legible, clean, and neat, right? And basically, that is how you're going to ace your law exams. Make sure you go through it over and over again. Something that helps me personally to get used to using IRAC, as I said earlier, is reading answers. If, for example, there's a test that goes on in your class, and somebody gets a higher score than you, go, humble yourself. Tell them, please, can I see your script? There's some people that don't like sharing their script. I don't know why. But if they give you their script, you can read over their script, ask if you can take a picture, read over their script over and over and over again, collect other people's script as well, read it over, right? It could be that they have a way with words. There's a flow that they have, and that's essentially what you need to have as well. So read it. As a law student, as minus even law student, it's very, very important for you to read, vastly. Just get used to certain languages, get used to certain terms so that you can use them while you're answering your question. The legal profession, they boast in being the noble profession, using words that we cannot understand most times. So you also can pick up on some of those words. So it just make it sound nice, so that you can give your lecturer the best answer possible. Right, so yeah, this is basically how to use IRAC to answer your questions. Please go through it over and over and over and over again. In this case, practice does make perfect. If you do not understand anything, ask questions. Don't be shy to ask questions, and just basically ensure that, please, again, let your handwriting be legible.
So essentially, we've spoken about how to answer law questions, particularly problem questions using IRAC, how to analyze case studies using FIRAC, and how to basically answer essay questions using introduction, body, and conclusion. So I hope this video was helpful. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions. Please don't forget to like this video and subscribe, and send this to a 100 level law student or any law student that you think would need this. And yeah, so thank you so much guys for watching this video. Peace out. So that they don't give you, gosh. Oh, all right, so